Should be really cool. We're here today at Taylor's Market. I think it's like a butcher shop, a market, and I think it's like a restaurant all tied into one, but I've never been in here before, so I don't really have a good idea of what it looks like. But look, right away we see they got some turkeys going on here. They got all kinds of different stuff. I can't wait to check it out. I'm excited. How's it going? Yeah. Wow.
So Taylor's, you can find it.
Meat Doctor.
How's it going?
How's it going, Mark?
Paul.
Great to meet you.
All right, nice to meet
This
you.
is Carlos.
Carlos, how you doing? Thanks for coming.
Got a plethora of meat going on here.
Yeah,
huh?
we do.
Wow, look at those ribeyes.
Yeah.
Dang.
So we just did this. We do the case every morning.
Yeah.
So cut it nice and fresh, and we
That
trade.
must be a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean we've been doing it a while now, so you know
You're
it's
used
easier.
to it.
Yeah.
Looks really cool up there. What do you got up there?
So this is our dry age case. So these are prime ribs, standing rib roast, and we age those from anywhere from 28 all the way up to 85 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we call them our extreme ribs.
What's the temperature in there?
We keep it between 36 and 37 degrees.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty cold.
Yeah, yeah. 36, 37. The humidity in there is anywhere from 75 to 80%.
Yeah.
So nice and dry. And
Awesome.
Have you had dry age before?
Yeah, I have.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the different flavor that you can get just from aging it a certain amount of days.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, you know, with aging, it takes patience.
Right.
There's a little bit of shrinkage, so you have a little
You
bit
have
of
to
loss.
cut off some pieces,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So there's loss. You got a little bit of, there's a buttery, like rich flavor to it that's pretty distinct once you do it right. So it's
Very
actually
cool.
one of our most popular cuts we
Oh,
have.
awesome. And I'm not sure if my brother informed you, but he and we both do the Carnivore Diet.
Yeah.
So we primarily
Yeah, I've been
eating.
following it up on a little bit
Yeah.
since I found out you were coming. So
Cool.
it seems to be a big thing, huh?
Yeah. More and more people are.
How do you feel? Good?
Yeah, I feel great.
Is it hard or?
Not really. No, not once you get into it, and if you like meat, which
Yeah.
you probably obviously do.
Yeah.
It's basically what a lot of people don't realize is they think about it in terms of like, well, you must eat a ton of meat.
Yeah.
And if you really think about it, it's like eating a steak and then letting your body digest that for a couple hours, and then eating again. You're just full all the time, and you're not really pounding down meat all day as people think.
Yeah.
You know, I think that once your body gets adapted to it and you get fat adapted and can burn fat good,
So no carbs.
no carbs.
No carbs.
Well, then no one knows better than someone like yourself is you have a lot of choices.
Yeah.
You know, so I think most people, when we say we do a carnivore diet, they just think of just like steak.
Yeah.
And they might think of like one particular kind of steak. But how many different kinds of
Look at how many cuts you have.
you know?
Well, yeah. I mean,
And different
that's
flavors,
I mean,
right?
that's what's cool about us. So we get. I was just telling them that we get whole beef in, so we get carcass beef in. So tomorrow we're actually getting a front quarter and a hind quarter of grass-fed beef. So this grass-fed beef is raised in Oregon House, which is about 70 miles northeast of here. And we know the rancher, the farmer. We know the people that live there and raise this beef from the very beginning.
Oh, cool.
So when they bring us carcass beef, we literally get every single cut out of the animal.
Right.
I mean, from nose to tail.
Right.
So we get all those cuts. So when people come into a place like us where we specialize in this, we don't just sell them, like I said, the traditional ribeye New York.
Yeah, what about like
filet.
liver, heart, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff?
so we get offal in. We get a bunch of oxtails, which are great, for braising.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we have, like I said, we get 2 halves. Sometimes we order 2 halves or 4 quarters. And the good thing is people will come in and say we'll be out of ribeyes, but I can also sell you a hanger steak, which is only one on the animal. I can
Right.
sell you a skirt steak, which is the diaphragm muscle. Top sirloin, it used to be a very popular cut. We take off the cap, which I'll show you in a minute. We take the cap off, clean it up, and then sell them nice sirloin steaks. So there's a lot out there.
Right.
And it all depends where you shop too.
You can go as expensive as you want, or you can go as inexpensive as you need.
Like our most expensive steak is a filet mignon, right? It's very popular, but to me it's very overrated because it's super tender, but there's no flavor.
Right.
And it's $30 a pound. But I mean, there's I'll show you in a minute. Is a chuck eye steak, which comes off the shoulder. It's $7.99 a pound. Tons of flavor.
Kind of almost like a ribeye, right?
Yeah, and it's really close to the ribeye.
Yeah.
And it's much cheaper than a ribeye.
It's
right?
yeah. So a ribeye is $16.99. These are it's $7.99.
Wow. It's a
So,
big difference, yeah.
Yeah.
And you like the chuck eye better, or you like the ribeye better?
Well,
What's
I like
your-
the ribeye better, but
But it's close enough.
Right, people come in with a budget, right?
Yeah,
and they
it's
don't
close
want
enough.
they don't want to come in here and spend it on the leg, but they want good quality cuts.
Well, maybe they're barbecuing too for friends and family.
Yeah,
and
see,
stuff too.
you know, they have a barbecue for 15
Yeah.
people.
Right.
Yeah, you know, that's expensive.
Yeah.
What's your favorite cut overall, or cuts?
Overall, I mean, if I were to do one steak, it would be a dry aged porterhouse.
Dry age.
Yeah, when you just leave all the rules out. So the top portion is the top loin, which is the New York strip. Bottom portion is that fillet, but then you have the bone running, you know, down the middle. So you get that
Yeah.
flavor off the bone, the tenderness of the fillet.
We had that porterhouse at that restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
In Sacramento here. It was really good.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But a lot of people say a lot of people don't like the porterhouse because they say, well, you're cooking two steaks at the same time, and how do you feel
Yeah,
about
I
that?
mean, I cook it indirect since it's so big. You know, it could be 2.5 pounds or bigger. Depends on how thick you cut it. So, you know, I do it indirect. So if I'm barbecuing on my Weber, you know, I have side-to-side burner. So I'll put it on the right side, and there's no burner underneath that, and I'll turn the burners on the left-hand side and basically use it like an oven,
Yeah.
and then it just cooks even throughout.
Wow.
I don't have a problem with it.
And never had any
And I'm just a
conversation.
butcher, so I mean,
Right.
I'm not a fancy chef, or
Yeah, that's
I'm not, you know, I don't consider myself a great cook, but to me, it's a no-brainer. It's
Right.
just indirect, you know, something big.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, show us around. It'd be great.
All right, cool. Tomorrow. So these are 10-inch primal ribs.
Yeah.
So that's how those come up to us. So there's 7 ribs on this, and we age them in here and in the other cooler. So this is just as natural as it gets.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
you know, like the aging process, the enzymes will break down the connective tissues and the muscle fibers, and it will naturally break itself down to where it's tender, and you got that nice flavor. So we'll do some. I got this ready. We'll cut that in a minute.
So these are primarily ribs, and then what's
so
this guy over here?
So this is a lamb. This is a lamb from
Oh,
Dixon,
okay.
which is raised 20 miles from here.
Okay.
It's basically the lamb capital of California.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of
Wow.
the majority of the lamb is raised. We sell a ton of lamb.
That's a pretty big deal because California has a lot of meat, right?
Yeah, it's just where it is, Dixon. It's closer. It's closer to the coastal mountains. There's nice
Right.
breeze there. The heat, it gets a little hot in the summer, but tons of shade for the animals, and they're on a great diet. So
What about this guy?
that's a lamb too. I just took the legs off this morning.
Got it.
So, which is cool, is like you can see it, it's a little lean here. And these are seams. So this seam right here separates these two muscles. So this is the sirloin tip, this is the knuckle.
Okay.
And like I said, you can see the seam here, which separates the
You
two.
make all kinds of stuff out of lamb, right? You can cut it like a steak a little bit, or make a ground beef out of it and stuff like that too. right?
We grind
Or
it.
ground lamb, rather.
We do. You can do a bone-in leg of lamb. You can do a boneless
Like a
leg of
lamb
lamb.
shank,
You
right?
can pop the shanks off. We'll cut some. I'll get into it. And if you want to bone out the leg, you have the rump, the bottom, the eye, the inside. So there's all these different muscles within it
Right.
that you can use.
And then is this sort of that aging process you're talking
Yeah.
about? Kind of slightly starting to happen here.
Yep. So you want it nice and dry. Like I said, we have some in the other case.
You
that
just
we're
kind of
using.
cut some of this
All
off.
this would come off.
Got it.
Like I said, I'll do one in a minute. We'll pull the cap off. It's a lifter. Pull that off. Trim all that age off. We'll use that for stew meat, like a dry aged stew meat.
Right. That's probably amazing, right?
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
So, and then we'll break it down. We'll take the age off, and then we'll do our prime ribs.
It's crazy.
This
that
right
they
here
would
is.
sit here like that.
Oh yeah, this right here is actually, these are the short ribs. So these are dry aged short ribs.
Yeah. Probably unbelievable. And what do we got up here? There's like slabs of fat.
No, these are pork bellies.
Oh, okay.
So pork belly, this is a pork rack that we haven't French yet. And then we have the leg. All right, so I'm going to show you. I mean, I probably know these cuts, but these are some of the cuts that we saw a lot of just because of the functionality and the flavor. And you know, again, you don't have to spend tons of money.
Right.
You don't have to come in and buy the most expensive cut and feel like, you know, hey, you know, I got this cut, I spent this much, this is the best thing. But
I love all these different tools you got here.
yeah. So we use these are hand saws.
My favorite thing has got to be the mallet right there.
Oh, this thing's old.
This kind of reminds me of
from the
Pulp,
60s.
This kind of reminds me of Pulp Fiction when he's trying to pick out his favorite.
Yeah.
The scene where he's picking out his favorite weapon.
Yep, there's a couple of good scenes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we use this daily, even though we have the bandsaw.
Right.
But we like to stay sharp and practice with this. It only cuts one way. You can see the way the teeth are. The teeth runs forward.
Oh, so you would only
So
go
it
in
only
one
cuts
direction.
forward. Yeah, it doesn't cut front and back. So 25 inches length.
Front and back would probably be too rough on the meat or something
Yeah,
too, right?
I mean, again, it's only for the bone. So when you're
Oh,
sawing
it's for the
something,
bone,
and
okay.
once you're through the bone, you stop sawing.
Yeah.
And then you'll get your knife, and then you'll start cutting.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of cool tools. I mean, we use everything in here except for that is an old hog splitter.
Oh,
So
nice.
basically, they would hang the hog,
Yeah.
and people still do it throughout the world. A lot of butchers still do it, but when the hogs come to us, they're already cut in half. But they'll eye-hand coordination, strength, and they'll cut it.
Cool.
Yeah. So, again, I was talking earlier about the chuck eye stick. Here at Taylor's, $7.99 a pound. So, it comes off the shoulder, and it's the first 2 or 3 cuts.
Come check this out, Smokey. Check out this.
Smokey,
That's Smokey over here.
that's his nickname?
That's the
I like
nickname,
it.
yeah.
So, first 2 or 3 cuts off the chuck. So these first 2 or 3 cuts are closest to the ribeye. So you have the shoulder between the 5th and 6th rib. So you have the shoulder and then the ribeye. So this is right next to the ribeye off the shoulder. So
From what
it's a
I've
great
seen, it
value.
takes a lot to get into all that meat, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, you're starting out and you got to continue to trim the meat down a lot, and then like that is. I find it fascinating that that's like encased, like it's like a prize, like kind of at the middle of the cow almost.
Yeah,
Pretty
and
cool.
you know, some butcher shops they grind it. Some people will just leave it on the chuck itself as a roast, like a boneless chuck roast.
Is this all fairly edible? You know, sometimes it's
All of
stringy or
it's
weird.
edible.
It's very edible.
Yeah, on this right here. Yeah,
Pretty much. Yeah.
and here's the other one. So you know, you can see as it continues down, the fat will get larger.
Right.
But this, I mean, like I said, for $7.99 a pound.
Right.
You know, the trick is, so like how I cook this, very basic, right? Salt and pepper, medium heat, and you don't want to overcook it. 'cause
Medium
if you,
it's like 300, 350.
yeah, 325. I keep it very simple, 325 basically
Yeah.
for a lot of stuff. But this right here, if you cook it medium rare, because you don't want to overcook it, because
Right.
it is part of the shoulder, it will be tough. So you just want to, you know, you're going for the flavor,
Right.
and medium rare, it's going to be good. So from one thing to the other. Now this, you know what this is by looking at it?
Maybe like a flank.
It's not a flank. This is a good meat quiz
It looks
here.
very lean.
So it's very lean. You guys know?
Andrew's favorite.
Flat
Stir fry?
iron.
Oh.
Flat iron.
Oh, the
Flat
flat
iron.
irons are
Yeah.
great, yeah.
So this flat iron, it comes off the shoulder blade, and where it sits on the shoulder blade, it hardly moves.
This is the delt right here.
So
Oh, so it's like a fillet is the same way, right? Like it's tender because it doesn't move.
yeah, so basic anatomy is the more the muscle works, the tougher it is.
Sure.
Right? So
Oh, yeah, and they got to support.
so like,
themselves.
you know,
So he would taste terrible.
yeah, it tastes very terrible. It'd be very tough. But
try to rip it apart.
so this right here is the second most tender cut. It's $11.99 a pound. Great value. This you can cook year round. So there's so many things you can do with this. You can slice it thin
Right.
for stir fry. What I do,
That's what I like doing with it because it only takes a couple minutes to cook.
yeah.
Super
So
quick.
the tenderness is there. The flavor's there, not so much, but it's all about the tenderness.
Right.
You can add flavor to it. You can
Throw
do
some butter on there or something.
oh, whatever, you know, salt, pepper, garlic. You can use like thyme, rosemary. You can do butter. You can throw it in any family recipe that you like as far as marinades goes.
Right.
So like what I'll do is I just cut it in half, and then
It's nice to have some sharp knives around. Huh?
Yeah. So you know, I'll just barbecue them super fast,
Right.
and it's funny because I have two. Let's see, my son's almost 6 and my daughter's almost 4. They love meat. They
that's
eat. Well, they're being raised right, and they're being raised by, you know, a father who's a butcher who has quality meat, so they're being spoiled, by the way. But they, like my son, who's almost 6, he can eat this whole thing,
That's great.
and they love this because it's tender and it's easy to eat. So, second most tender cut, great value. Again, you can't really mess it up.
Right.
Even if you
Is
slightly
a,
overcook it.
Is a bavette steak similar to that?
Yeah, so bavette is the tail end of the sirloin. So that's a little bit tougher. So the texture of that's going to be closer to like a skirt steak,
Right.
like the diaphragm. The texture is, or like a hanger steak. But the bavette, it's lean. You can't overcook it. That's a good steak for salads too. You can get some mixed greens and cook the bavette like medium rare to medium, slice it thin, throw it on top of the salad.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good,
Yeah.
you know, that way you're off the.
What's the other guy we got over there?
So this,
Is that a
I'm going to
tri-tip?
quiz you again. This looks like a tri-tip. So this is a picanha. You ever heard of picanha?
Yeah, we've got
So-
it in Brazilian steakhouse.
Okay, so yeah, you see it. Yeah, it was very, you
Those are
know,
really good.
like Brazil. It's very popular in Brazil. Portugal, it's popular.
It looks a lot like a tri-tip.
It does. Yeah, it kind of has that shape because you have 3
How much
points.
does that weigh about? Is that like 2 pounds or
You
something?
guys want to guess?
Pound and a half? Pretty big.
2.5?
pounds?
2.5.
2 pounds.
2.5 is a good guess.
Oh, 2
Wow. 2.5.
There we go.
Yeah.
And plus the scale's inaccurate too.
Camera adds 20 pounds.
Yeah. So this is a good. So you can. There's a couple ways you can.
Why
cook
the
this.
difference in color? Just leanness or
Yeah,
it's been
we
out
aged this a little bit
Okay.
longer. This is 100% grass fed, so a little bit leaner.
Got it.
Yeah. So this right here, there's a couple things you can do. You can score the fat. You can go like that.
It's all good stuff to like. I just like to eat meat. I don't know
Yeah.
anything about it, so it's fun to learn this stuff.
Right, and you can score it like that, and
What
then you
does
can
that do?
cook it. You can cook it in a pan, and you're going to render that fat. So nice and slow, you're going to cook it like that,
Right.
and then you're going to render the fat, and that's going to kind of baste into the meat,
Got it.
and then you can flip it over and then
How much
finish it
is
in
this
the
a
oven. This right here is $10.99 a pound.
Also not too bad.
Yeah, not too
That's
bad at
a
all.
really good steak. It tastes really good.
Tons of
flavor.
flavor.
Yeah, it
tons
seems
of
like 'cause that's
flavor.
all that fat in the back.
And so, you know, when we get a few sirloins in, there's only one on the top sirloin. It's the calf, so you just pull it off. We can't even keep them in stock. I had to hold on to this because I knew you were coming, because they would have been sold by now. So we have people that come in and then they order them, and then we just wrap it up for them and have it
Right.
ready. But we can't even keep it at the counter. So that's one way you can, you know, roast it in the pan. You put it in the oven like that. Another thing you could do is just come here and cut steaks.
Oh, that's looking pretty awesome.
So you can do steaks like that.
That's making me hungry.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
have nice
It's kind of like
steaks.
a Nero strip.
Wow.
Yeah, so like I said, the flavor's there. But yeah.
And it's good to cook it with the fat on there. And you
I
can,
cook it-
you
I
can
cook
get
a
rid of
lot
it
of
at
stuff.
some other point if you want, right?
Yeah, I mean,
But it's
you
going
know,
to kind of keep the flavor in there, right?
exactly. I mean, you don't necessarily have to eat the fat. I know tons of people that they'll
Yeah,
eat
right.
everything.
Right.
Everything. I like to cook everything with the fat, and whether I choose to eat it or not.
Right.
But I like, you know, it keeps everything moist, keeps the flavor profile, you know, there.
Do you personally like grass-fed? Or do you prefer regular?
So, I don't like the taste of it.
Right.
We-
We're the same way. Like,
So-
I mean, I'll eat it, and I enjoy it here and there, but mainly I just get regular meat, you know?
Yeah, so most of us are raised in the United States on beef that's finished with grain. And it's been like that forever. And so we're used to that flavor. And it takes somewhat of a change to get to the liking of it. Now, other countries, their beef is generally 100% grass-fed, so they're used to it.
Right.
But here in America, we're used to something that's finished on grain, whether we're used to it or not.
And then all cows are grass-fed too, right? But this is they're finished with grain, right? To marble the fat.
So this
stuff.
right here, this is 100% grass-fed, right? So that's all it's ever eaten.
Right.
And when it's not finished on grain, you're not going to get as much marbling.
Right.
Sometimes you will with good genetics. But this is a Angus and a Murray Grey, which is an Australian breed. So, and like I said, she's a good friend of mine. It's Richard's Ranch. They're out of Oregon House. It's not too far from here. So we sell a lot of it. We have customers that come in just for grass-fed, but I don't like the flavor.
Is there any other difference with the grass-fed meat or the different maybe ranches that you've been to where maybe the grass-fed cattle are maybe more active, maybe they are able to move around more or something like that?
No,
or is it
I mean, it's
all
all farming.
relatively similar?
It's all relatively similar. It's all farming practices and how they raise their beef, but it's all pretty much. We like to buy small. We like to buy local.
Where do you guys get? Where are you sourcing it from?
So
Local
this
farms?
comes directly from them, from Richard's grass-fed beef.
Oh, okay.
So like I said, it's 70 miles northeast of here, and I actually grew up going to this ranch.
Oh, very cool.
So the lady Carrie, she's a good friend of mine. I talk to her all the time. So like we know when the beef's coming in. I've seen the beef that we've butchered here, from the beginning to the end. So there's that good. We have a nice connection. Good relationship.
What's the difference between, because it sounds like you have a connection with these people, you know these people, you know what they're doing.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a place like this and a big supermarket,
Yeah, I mean, this business is all I know. This is a very small family-owned business. I can't definitely speak for other big corporate businesses. I mean, I keep that to myself. But I just, I focus on what we do here.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say about buying local is local sometimes is not always the best. Even though we try to keep it local within 100 miles, that doesn't necessarily mean it's better than other
Sure.
companies and other branches and ranches.
Yeah, I've had some friends that even study agriculture, and they even study the foods that the animals eat, and they even study the actual meat itself.
Yeah.
And these are professors and stuff, and they'll say, look, sometimes the food that's at In-N-Out might be actually better than something you might get at your local grocery store.
Yeah.
Which is hard for people to believe, but it's a difference in price tag and difference in sourcing, and some of the companies that are able to move their food quickly, like you guys are here. I said I would think that that's the best bet, because you're going to have the freshest stuff. You guys are really up to date and have a good understanding of how much meat you're selling all the time, and things like that.
We try to keep it small and simple. We want to have good relationships with our farmers and ranchers. Like I said, the local's not always the best, but we try to keep it that way. And if there's a good product and we like it, we're going to carry it.
Yeah.
And until things change, that we hold on to those certain businesses forever. We have a good relationship with a lot of them. So, like I said, our lamb comes from Dixon, which is right here.
Right.
Our beef is 70 miles northeast of here. Our poultry is Mary's air-chilled chicken. They're out of Sanger, which is Central California.
Yeah.
That's air-chilled. So the good thing about that air-chilled chicken is it's not washed in chlorinated water. So if you ever go to a big chain grocery store, you buy a chicken, it's in styrofoam, and then there's that little, you have that water at the very bottom.
Right.
That's because it's been washed with chlorinated water. So they'll wash a few, say 1,000 chickens.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get another 1,000 chickens, dump it in that same chlorinated water, and they'll do about 10,000 chickens before they even change that water. That's why we buy air chilled. So basically, once our chickens are sedated. Once they're killed, they just spray them down real fast, and then they hang them in an air-chilled room, so there's no water added. So what you're tasting is that that pure chicken flavor. So
how many pounds of that cut can you get out of one cow?
So you can get 2 of these off a whole beef, right?
That's it?
And then that's it.
Wow.
Yeah. So
5 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, that's a grass-fed, so that's a little bit smaller. You can get something. Our other beef actually comes from Kansas City, That's the grain finish. That beef, that's going to be a little bit larger.
So maybe a couple extra pounds.
Yeah, maybe a pound and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's kind of the difference when the food is, or the meat is like very, very marbled, like a Wagyu steak or something like that?
Yeah, so that's genetics and feed. So, you know, again, something like this is grass-fed, where it's Angus. It's a very popular breed. A Murray Grey. It's a good subtle mix with an Angus. It's almost like a Hereford, where their temperament's real calm. Genetics, feed is basically how you get your marbling.
Fat cows versus jacked cows, basically.
Yeah. The guy wants to impress his buddies at a barbecue, right? And it's the summertime, and you know they want to bring something cool. It's like, here you go, you know, and
Meat with a handle on it.
yeah. I mean, you can.
Holy shit.
Is that how you cut them, about that thick?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you cut them that thick, then you want to try to keep the temperature like not too crazy high, right?
Yeah,
Because it's
so
going to
like I
burn
said,
the
I
outside of it.
Yeah, I keep it very simple. Like I said, I keep everything at 325. Sometimes I go up to 350.
Yeah.
There's guys that do 500 for 20 minutes or 10 minutes, and then they'll drop it to 350.
Right.
I don't have time, and it just gets too confusing for that. Yeah.
I've done it before where I stuck it in the oven for a little bit and then had it at 500 and did like a reverse sear or something like that, and that's been pretty effective. Yeah.
Something like this big, you know, you're going to want to do it indirect. I mean, you could sear it or do the reverse sear, either way, but this is too thick and too big to just sit there and keep flipping it.
Right.
So you'll want to do it indirect.
Yeah, a lot of people more recently I've been just more educated on it, and they say, look, the more you flip it, the worse it's going to be.
Yeah.
And also try to keep the flipping to a minimum. You want to really just try to flip it like twice.
Yeah, I mean, guys, you know, I've had guys that just keep.
Yeah. It's hard because you want it to cook and you're hungry too.
Yeah.
So you're just thinking, if I keep poking at this thing, it'll cook quicker.
But it's one of those
Opening the
things.
lid every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a big eye appeal. It's a big eye catcher.
Right.
You know. Another thing. So a Cowboy steak is essentially. So it's essentially a 10-inch rib. This is a Cowboy steak. It's basically a tomahawk with a shortened bone.
Got
So
it.
a Cowboy steak is just a double cut bone-in ribeye, where we just shorten the bone up.
11 pounds.
Okay.
Yes.
15.
15 pounds.
That's a good chunk right there.
Yeah. So, do you like lamb or?
I don't really love lamb.
Yeah.
Not personally, no.
Yeah. I mean,
More of a beef guy.
yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I like lamb. I'll eat it a few times a year. But
I don't mind it in some meatballs.
Yeah. I mean, lamb. It has a lot of essential nutrients.
Yeah,
You know, it has a lot of vitamin B12, niacin.
Right.
And it will have, you know, the flavors there. It's another one of those things where it's grass fed,
Right.
so you know the flavors. It's going to be a little bit stronger, but you know we have customers that love lamb,
Right.
and to me it's mild because you know it's killed between 7-8 months, so it's not too, you know, anything over a year is considered a mutton, where it's going to be a little bit stronger. So, you know,
Let's maybe do this. Maybe set me up with like, I don't know, 5 to 8 of your favorite cuts or ground beef and sausage and stuff like that, and
Okay.
I'll purchase it from you guys. And
yeah.
And then
so
I'll be
you
there.
want to do just the beef or just the lamb?
just the beef. Yeah.
Okay, all right. You want me to cut this up or no?
Sure. Yeah. If you
I mean,
want
I
to
could
just
just break
kind
it down into primals. I mean, nothing crazy, right?
yeah, if you want to just show a little bit of
Okay.
chopping it up, that might be kind of neat. Something like that costs.
The whole
Like
lamb?
when you get the whole thing.
Oh man, whole lamb's going to cost around $500.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That knife is so sharp.
It's amazing what a good knife will do. Get through.
Why do you wipe it like that?
So when you use a saw, when you're going through the bone, it creates bone dust. So like just little particles of bone
fragments.
So like we just take that off. I like to clean it up. Like you don't know what's going in the counter, but you don't want to buy a piece of lamb that has bone fragments on it. So get this. I'll cut this in half. So, ready?
That's so cool looking.
Yeah. So there's your shanks. I'll take the shoulder off.
What kind of knives are these?
So these are F-Dick. They're out of Germany. This is what we use for the competition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Competition knives. Are they pretty
So this
crazy
is-
expensive, or they're not too bad?
No, they're not too bad at all. This is a 10-inch scimitar knife, so 10-inch blade. I only use 2 knives, so I use this, a 10-inch scimitar, and then I use a 6-inch boning knife. That's all I use.
What's it called? 6 inches?
It's just a boning knife.
Boning knife.
Yeah. So we use it for smaller chickens. When you're trimming out a smaller steak, piece of meat, you want to use your boning. Obviously, bone out like a leg of lamb. That's what you would use.
Right.
But again, they sponsored us for the World Butcher Challenge, so that's all we use.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So you can see the nice marbling here.
Yeah.
So we remember the chuck eyes, right? That's what that is right there. So that's where your chuck eye would come from. And then this is your rack. So your rack of lamb, your prized cut, right? I mean, we got Valentine's coming up, so on not Friday, so we'll sell tons of racks of lamb, right? So racks of lamb, fillets, scallops, lobster tails.
Yeah. Cool. And chocolate.
Chocolate, champagne.
Very expensive.
Not too bad.
Maybe the whole set for $16. Seems like it's worth it.
And I'll just cut this down, and then this is the rack, and I'll separate the rack from the loin. And then I'm going to give you some cool cuts. You're going to cook them tonight, or you going to freeze them?
Probably a combination of things. Yeah. I always have like something thawing out and something in my crock pot pretty much all the time.
So you don't like wild game, right?
Not particularly.
Yeah.
I'm open to try.
We've just never-
I try
we
all
didn't
kinds
really
of
grow
stuff.
up with it, so
Yeah.
we're just not used to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, like I said, we do a lot of deer hunting,
Yeah.
and we have customers that don't like hunting, but they like the flavor of the venison. So
I like elk and stuff like that before, and I've liked it quite a bit.
yeah,
and,
elk
and,
is very good. To me,
and
that's one of the
bison,
best.
but like venison and things like that, I haven't really particularly liked.
Well, when we start hunting this year, and we say we do get something, you guys just call me, and then just come in, and I'll just get, I just give it whatever you want. But there's some really good cuts, and you cook it right. Like I smother it with like tons of garlic and rosemary. But it's one of those things where you don't have to go hunting to enjoy the animal, because we don't want nothing to go to waste. So.
Yeah, that's what I suggest to a lot of people that get frustrated with how much stuff costs. I'm like, most people have someone in their family or they have a friend that hunts,
Yeah.
and usually they got stuff in their freezer that you can
Yeah.
grab from them. They're usually pretty willing to
How much
to part with it.
you listen to every Rogan podcast, somebody elk out of the
Yeah,
freezer.
yeah.
You got so much of it.
Yeah.
I'll give you some elk right now. It's on every podcast.
That's also there. I think they're kind of prideful about it. They want someone else
And
to
I think,
experience.
like you said, they don't want to waste it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have, like I said, people that come in and they want it. So those are your porterhouses. That's your loin. That's your loin section. So, that's the New York strip, and then your tenderloin. So, and then that's the other end where your T-bones are.
He's just kind of encased in a big old thing of fat there, huh?
That's right. And like this is the fell, F-E-L-L. It's a thin membrane on the lamb. As the lamb gets older, it becomes thicker.
Yeah,
but it's a very irony flavor to it. So you don't want to eat it. You just we clean it off. But you always want to take the fell off. All right, so there's your lamb. Yeah, we can talk meat for days. I mean, the one thing I do besides everyone to come check us out at Taylor's Market. So we're in Sacramento, been here since 1962, and we're a whole animal butcher shop, old school butchery, where we want to know everybody's name and give you whatever cut you want. So 2900 Freeport Boulevard, come check us out. The other thing I really want to talk about again is the Real Butcher Challenge.
September 5th.
So September 5th, Golden One Center. Butchers of America, 6 butchers from the United States competing against 15 other countries. So come check us out. This hat will look good on you.
I think so. I agree. Might have to expand it.
Yeah, you could probably put it
I'm
on
a meathead.
We're 2 meatheads, man. So you guys got
Like a glove.
nice.
There we go.
Beautiful.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, yeah, thank you. Good luck with it.
Thank you. Another great meat trip. Learned a lot today. Learned about all the different cuts and learned about the time and the practice of processing meat. Hopefully you guys learned a lot. I think people have a lot of misconceptions about how meat is processed, and there's still a lot more things to look into and to pay attention to. But I like going to these places. I like checking it out. These are people that they still care. They care. Yeah, they care about animals too. Like they're not. It's not some savage thing that people think. Obviously, there are still being a lot of animals being killed to feed us, right? But it is. I just think it's just part of the setup and part of the way that we're designed. Right? I feel like we're designed to eat meat, so I don't know a way around it. I don't think we can eat them while they're alive, and I don't think we can get the nutrients that we need from other things other than meat. I don't think there's anything that can replace it. There's not a technology or a thing that someone can invent or make that will replace it. So had a great day, got a lot of steak, got some ground beef, and got some sausage, and excited to bring this on home and cook it up. This is Taylor Market here in Sacramento, and they also have a restaurant as well. The restaurant's only open for dinner. Otherwise, we'd be eating there right now. But gonna get some of this thrown in the fridge, freezer, whatever I can, and then I'll bring it home and cook it up later
You gotta
tonight.
come here and eat something.
Yeah, no, definitely have to try it.
It looks nice in there.
That's it from Taylor's Market. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never a strength. Catch y'all later.